Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 15, Episode 69. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us this Tuesday. Steelers Nation, I know an oddball schedule this week as we're getting ready for that Wednesday Christmas Day game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kansas City Chiefs. And so finishing off this 3-game, 11-day slate, and hopefully Pittsburgh can end it on a higher note to avoid a 3-game losing skid and really jeopardize their chances of winning the AFC North. So, Dave, a lot to talk about today. How you doing?
I'm tired, boss.
You're in the end zone right now.
Watching that bit of that Packers Saints game last night, it felt like it was a Thursday night game. I didn't know when I went to go take my nightly vitamins and all. I had to sit there and think for about almost 2 full minutes of what day it is, what cubby hole out of it. Yeah, I've reached that old age, Alex, where you got these pill packs out there with all the days labeled on them.
When Dave says vitamins, that is a different connotation. That is the literal old man vitamins, not the Pat McAfee vitamins.
My supplements and my cholesterol medicine, and I take so many damn pills now. It's crazy, but short week here, trying to cram a lot in and, get back through the rest of the Ravens tape and look forward to cram as much as you can in on the Chiefs and all. Got a fairly decent handle on them, I think. So we got a lot to talk about today. And I think if you're a Steelers fan, you are your optimism level probably should be a little bit higher, I think, heading into this game, especially based on the injury report from Monday, and we'll obviously see what the final injury report says later today.
Health has been an issue for the Steelers team. Obviously, a contributing factor, not the main factor, but a contributing one to these last 2 losses. But Pittsburgh looking healthier for this game against the Chiefs. Pittsburgh holding walkthroughs this week. Obviously, really little time to actually get in a good, hearty practice on this short week and quick turnaround. But per the team's Monday report, several injured players who missed that Ravens game working back in full participation yesterday in wide receiver George Pickens, strong safety Deshaun Elliott, defensive lineman Larry Ogunjobi, cornerback Dante Jackson. Who else do we have here? Justin Fields returned to be limited, so that was the first step for him. Unfortunately, no Joey Porter, no Ben Skoranek. They have not practiced this week. Seems unlikely they will play. But the big news here, Dave, is that Pickens going in the right direction. Same with Elliott. Pickens telling reporters he had not been officially cleared, doesn't know exactly his status, and a walkthrough can only tell you so much about where you are at health-wise. But all signs, including a report from the PPG's Jerry Dulac, indicating Pickens will play tomorrow against Kansas City.
Yeah, Dante Jackson seems like he thinks he's going to be able to work back through this. Like you said, it doesn't sound positive for Joey Porter Jr. nor Ben Skoranek, but I guess stranger things have happened. We'll see what the injury report says on them. It would be nice to get, obviously 4 of those 5 that were on the inactive list against the Ravens back in George Pickens. Deshaun Elliott would be huge. Larry Ogunjobi, they could use him back for sure. And as I mentioned, Dante Jackson. So I don't think it doesn't feel like, unless somebody like Skoranek or somebody has to go to IR. I mean, we'll know by 4:00 if there's any elevations or any additional moves along those lines there. But I'm kind of guessing that Justin Fields might be the toughest one to kind of determine whether or not he's going to be active or not. But we'll see if he's able to. Mike Tomlin did say at the beginning of the week, though, it felt kind of positive for him. So we'll have to see. But those 4, the meat of the injury list last week, you hope to get those guys back for this game because they certainly need him, especially with most of those guys being on the defensive side of football. And state the obvious here, getting George Pickens back for this game and would be huge.
And assuming that Joey Porter Jr. does miss this game, it'll be Dante Jackson and Teryl Austin saying the team may ride the hot hand at corner between Corey Trice Jr. and James Pierre. Those guys were actually briefly rotating last week against Baltimore over the weekend, I should say. Really wasn't last week, but then Porter went down. And obviously, that changed things pretty quickly. So could see a rotation, a committee, and then maybe one guy stands out mid-game that Pittsburgh rolls with the rest of the way, trying to put a little bit less on each of those, guys who's played. Pierre, not a young guy, but hasn't played a ton of football this year. And Trice, obviously, pretty young. And I mean, frankly, I was thinking about this last night. I know you mentioned it during the last show on Sunday, but when was the last time Corey Trice Jr. played 49 snaps in a game? I think it was probably when he was at Purdue, because he didn't do it last year as a rookie. Obviously lost his entire rookie season before the first preseason game. I don't think he played 50 snaps in a preseason game this year. Hadn't done so in a regular season game this year. We're talking Boilermakers last time he played as much as he did against Baltimore.
Yeah, that's a good point. And obviously just does not have a lot of snap experience on the defensive side of football at the NFL level. He did play a little bit in those couple of games early in the season before sustaining the hamstring injury. And yeah, I mean, the good thing about him is he's a physical guy and, not afraid to come up and tackle and all, but he needs more snaps, and he's going to, feels like he's going to get some. To what degree in this game against the Chiefs? But when you start, looking forward into moving closer to the playoffs and all, it would be nice to get him, some snaps in this game, and I think he will get some. But I on the flip side, I think you're right. I think you'll see rotation of Pierre and Trice in there, assuming that Joey Porter does not play in this one.
And maybe his first start for Trice, which comes against Patrick Mahomes. Simple as that. What a way to welcome your first start if that happens, if he gets the nod over James Pierre. One from the other side, from Kansas City, their injury situation is notable too, especially in regards to one big name. Chris Jones suffered a calf injury against Houston on Saturday. It's a grade 1 sprain, or strain, I should say, according to Jake Glazer. But given the short week, given that the Chiefs have not locked up the 1 seed, but are certainly very likely to secure the 1 seed, they may rest Jones, who has not practiced this week. And so that would be a massive subtraction for them in the middle. One of the best interior defensive players in football, also not practicing. DJ Humphries, their left tackle, they brought on midseason, hurt his hamstring for his first game. They've had some other issues at tackle. To Juwan Taylor, he's got a knee strain. He was limited yesterday, and one of their versatile DBs, Shamari Connors, still working through concussion protocol. I very much doubt he'll get cleared by tomorrow. But Chris Jones, if they don't have him, that is huge for Pittsburgh's offense and their ability to run the football and protect that interior pocket in the pass game.
That'd be a hell of a Christmas gift, right? Because if obviously you don't have to contend with him as a pass rusher, and you would think that the Steelers would try to attack that in the middle of that defense and try to run at up the middle against him, and they absolutely have to try to play ball control in this one, because the best way to defend against Mahomes and that Chiefs offense is just to keep them on the sideline. And we talked quite a bit about these last 2 games about the Steelers defense having to be on the field so much. So yeah, that'd be a heck of a Christmas gift. As far as their tackle situation goes, who did they move out to the left side?
Joe Tooney.
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? Alan Faneca kicking out the left tackle that one year. I know you reference that all the time. It has a similar Faneca feel out there for Tooney.
And he's played pretty decent as well too. But with the Chiefs and their drop, and we'll get deeper into this in a little bit here, though. It's either Mahomes holds on to the ball like 3.8 seconds, or he gets the ball out quick. It feels like there's no real in between within there. But Mahomes has taken a couple of sacks, but I thought for the most part their tackles have held up pretty decent throughout these injuries there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Chris Jones is able to go on that defensive side of the ball. And even if he does go, you would think that there's no way that guy's going to play 60 snaps in this game.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. So we'll get the final injury report a little bit later today and just hope for continued good news for Pickens and Elliott, etc. We'll see what game statuses guys have. I imagine they still want Pickens to go through a pregame warm up just to see how that hamstring responds. Because even in these walkthroughs, even Pickens admitted this speaking to reporters yesterday, it's still hard to tell how good you are because you're really not going 100% here in these walkthroughs. You're just trying to, for the team try to be physically ready and get some rest and just take some mental reps and snapshots to get ready for this game on that tight turnaround. So it's even still harder, I think, gauge where Pickens was at, despite him being called full on Tuesday or on Monday, I should say.
Yeah, and all of this is probably going to come at the same time on this. What day is it? Tuesday here, because of the short week. But I don't know, we might get a little glimpse here if let's say Ben Skoronek's ruled out. Okay, let's say George Pickens is questionable, or who knows? Maybe he ends up just not on the injury report. We'll see. But they normally only have one wide receiver inactive there. So what I'm getting at here is maybe we'll get a quick kind of feel of how they feel, whether or not Ben Skoronek's ruled out. Do they elevate a wide receiver just in case?
Mm-hmm.
And then go through the pregame warmups, and if George is able to go, then make maybe that extra wide receiver inactive, because you still got to have 5 inactives for this game, at a minimum here. So maybe we'll get some Blues Clues. We haven't used that phrase in a while, but sometime later this afternoon.
Yeah, that's a fair point. All right, Dave, let's go over to the coordinators. Arthur Smith, Teryl Austin speaking yesterday. Let's start here with Arthur Smith. Anything that he said that really grabbed you and stuck out to you?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to really go through it with a fine-tooth comb here. Let me pull up the transcript on him.
He did talk about Pat Freiermuth and still believing that he's involved in this passing game, despite maybe the stats not always showing that. Only 3 short targets last week. What was your kind of feel on Freiermuth's overall usage in this offense? And Smith saying he is still a primary guy. Sometimes the ball just doesn't go your way.
Well, rolling back through the All-22 last night, didn't a couple of Freiermuth's targets come like in the later in the second half? Specifically, like when the game was kind of out of reach. Let me see if I can pull
one of them did. I think there was one in the 2-minute drill he caught. I think there was one late in the game when it was essentially over. I'm not sure where the other one came, but probably sounds about right.
Let's see. He had one short right, as you said, in that 2-minute drive for 5 yards on a 3rd and 4. His next one didn't come until the 4th quarter. 12:43 left. At that point, the Steelers were down 31-17. That was for 4 yards. And then a couple of plays later, 2nd and 18, he got that one out in the middle of the field for 7 yards. So that was it. So 2 of them came in the 4th quarter, and 1 of them came in the to end the first half there. So you don't have George Pickens in the game. It's easier to kind of rotate, to make sure as a defense who you want to try to give the attention to. And I would imagine that that played a part in Freiermuth not getting used a lot in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I still see things as in weighty moments. I've still seen Freiermuth become the primary. On that 2-minute drill catch, it was a 3rd down at the sticks. They use him in the red zone. They use him. He's still tracking to have stats pretty similar to his rookie season, tracking to have about 60 catches for, 575 yards, and he's found the end zone a lot. So in a run-heavy offense, as I've said all year, it's kind of made sense to me, his stat line. It's not super gaudy. I think my biggest critique is they haven't really used him vertically. It has felt rookie year in the sense of a lot of underneath stuff. And I thought his second year they used him smarter, more downfield. His ADOT is as low as it's been
Under
since his rookie
6, ain't
season.
it?
I think it's right at 6, so maybe rounding up right at 6. So I'd like to see him be used downfield a bit more. I think that's a valid critique. But in terms of the overall target share and involvement in the offense, I think it's there, even if the stats don't always show it.
Be interesting to see, especially if they get Pickens back, and how much the Chiefs like to, I think predominantly coverage wise, they're more of a cover one team. And then I think it goes from that to like quarters after that. Then I think kind of an equal share of like cover two and cover three. So if you get some one-on-one matchups in this game, which you would think would kind of play a little bit into the Steelers' favor in this one. Maybe you can get the ball, maybe you can get him one-on-one with a safety or something like that and take advantage of it. So I would expect an uptick, especially if George Pickens plays in this, an uptick in targets. And as you said, maybe they can get him the football down the field a little bit further than what they have for most of this season.
All right. Anything else from Arthur Smith as you kind of comb through the transcript? That was the one big thing to me on the Russell Wilson fumble. Smith did basically say there is no major coaching point. Kind of, as you said, hindsight is 2020. That was a direct quote there from Arthur Smith. Didn't seem to be too concerned with a learning opportunity there. I'm sure obviously he's not happy with the fumble. He's not excusing it, but in terms of what can be done differently, Smith really didn't have a main point to that thought.
Yeah, just playing off that real quick, Ben Roethlisberger said, "Yeah, no way you're going for it in that situation." Ben Roethlisberger seems to think that you're looking at it after the fact, you'd be upset if he slid, based on the way that thing opened up there. And I just think that's just an unfortunate thing as we kind of rolling back to kind of what we said the other day when Russell Wilson in the post-game press conference, I kind of take him at his word there. And then when you kind of look at the All-22 and in the end zone, I think he just saw that thing open up like it did. And he says, heck with it, I'm going for it. And, as you kind of stated, the thing is you just, you don't want him taking those kind of hits and landing the way that he did. But it all boils down to just an unfortunate ending to the play, because if he gets tackled even in the fashion that he did and he goes down, he holds on to the football, you're thinking, hey, fantastic. You're down deep in the low red zone, hell of a damn scramble on his part, and hopefully you punch it in a couple of plays later. So it just unfortunate end to the play on that one.
Yeah, I don't want to. We talked about it extensively previously. Just watching it back, so my last thought is I thought Wilson made his move to the left way too early. It was like 10 yards apart between him and Darius Washington, and that allowed Washington to really break down and change directions there. So when I watched it live, I thought Wilson was kind of making a quicker last second decision to try to cut back and make Washington miss, who was running full bore, but it really wasn't that case. I think Wilson kind of declared too early he was going to cut back inside, and Washington was able to adjust and make a great play.
If he would just try to do any kind of fake or whatnot, I mean, because he didn't, give him the old Patrick Mahomes, stick the ball out
I don't know about that.
To the side, just give him something to try to get him to kind of stop his feet or change direction or something like that. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate end to the play there.
Yeah. Anything else from Arthur Smith? I don't know if there was any other.
What he talked about the rotation of the running backs and kind of situationally, and how Warren was in, I guess, because of what passing situation. If I don't have the full quote here in front of me, but ebbs and flows, I guess, of the game, and kind of same things that Mike Tomlin had said.
Right. Let's go over to Teryl Austin. The big theme was what we have here is a failure to communicate. It's the old famous movie quote, and that can apply to the 2024 Pittsburgh Steelers. And that was Teryl Austin's overall message that communication is a problem. We have to clean things up. It's our job. And watching the tape, Dave, you can really see a ton of miscommunication, really these last two games, but especially versus Baltimore.
Have you ever watched Cool Hand Luke yet?
I have not, and I probably won't.
Man, you need to. That's such a great.
I know the quote. I know it enough to culturally reference it.
It's more than just a quote, though. It's such a great movie.
What year did that come out? It's an older movie, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's what year was Cool Hand Luke?
Like for you, older movie. Like for me, every movie's an old movie. It feels like.
It was even old for me. 1967.
Okay.
It was a year before I was born, but it's timeless. It really is. You need to add that to the long list of movies that you will not watch.
Exactly.
Let's see here. Yeah, I mean the communication aspect, as you said, and we talked about it, especially in a couple of the touchdowns there, and you see it. In fact, you even posted a clip I think this morning on Twitter about Peyton Wilson looking around on one of those plays, and where am I? What the heck? Where am I supposed to be? And you certainly can't have this in this game against the Chiefs. I mean, you can't have it, in any game, especially to the degree that they had it against the Ravens there. But you certainly can't have it in this game against the Chiefs. And you got a short week trying to work on all that. You got a Chiefs offense that's got a lot of moving parts and motion and misdirection. So you better be on your screws. But Austin seems. And why? I mean, it's coach speak, I know, but I seem to think that we'll get it corrected this week, and we'll see.
Yeah, there's no excuse, and hopefully Pittsburgh at home. Again, I know at home communication is actually in some ways tougher for the defense, but just on the road, just watching the tape and just seeing the team play for whatever reason, they just seem to struggle more. Communication on the road. Mentioned it before. Colts game earlier this year was a mess. These last two games have been a struggle. And so Pittsburgh, hopefully at home, will be the cure-all for that. Anything else from Teryl Austin? Dave, he did float Cam Sutton as an outside corner. Sutton did pick up a couple of snaps there on our charting last week. I don't know if it was like true outside stuff or some motion stuff that kind of left Sutton outside, but a lot of Deshaun Elliott talk from Austin, from players about what he'll provide, assuming he returns.
Yeah, and look, Elliott, was asked about Elliott as well too. So, not having those two guys in that last game and having them back this week, look, here's the thing about the Chiefs, man. And referenced this several times throughout the season, just kind of peripheral talking about the Chiefs. They don't. You look at the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat on Patrick Mahomes, and then you look even at the last 4 games of theirs, and specifically the passing chart. They don't push the football down the field vertically a lot. In fact, I think he only has like 2 or 3 pass completions of more than 20 yards down the field, but they try to paper cut you to death, especially out on the edges. So you better not miss any tackles. It feels like whatever passing yards that Patrick Mahomes has so far this season, you subtract only about 250 of that in air yards, and the rest of it's yards after the catch with them. So you better be on your P's and Q's and be in the right spot. You better have guys willing and able to tackle, because there's going to be a lot of stuff up underneath, a lot of stuff out to the edges here. Their run game is more of a complement to the pass game more than anything. So you need guys. You need your full complement of your regular defense that's used to playing together, used to communicating, and we're going to see how good the tackling is and how good the communication is in this one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be tested. Everything about Pittsburgh's defense will be stressed: rush lane integrity, plastering, tackling, communication, speed, defending those speedy wideouts that Kansas City has. We'll talk about here shortly. So, yeah, tough challenge, even though the Chiefs' offense is not as high-flying as it has been in previous years. All right, Dave, let's go to where to go to now. The All-22 of the Steelers-Ravens game. I know we both had to kind of fly through it here on this really, tight turnaround. Let's start with the Steelers offense. Your impressions. Did you feel any better, any worse, about the same about this unit after watching the All-22?
Well, you definitely missed George Pickens in this and the ability to stretch the football down the field. It only had a couple of explosive plays in this one. The running game had its moments where you were able to have a little bit of success, but you look at the volume of carries overall, they couldn't string anything together, especially until especially later in the game when it kind of got out of hand there. The 2 turnovers obviously magnified were key moments in this game here. especially the pick six situation there. And, I thought Calvin Austin played a phenomenal game overall. Mason McCormick, not so great, especially in the pass protection standpoint. They just never could get any real rhythm overall. Now, they were able to move the football. I think and we said this the other day, if you take away the couple of turnovers by Russell Wilson, I thought he did a good job of kind of spreading the football around and moving the football. But just the lack of explosive plays in this, the lack of being able to keep your offense on the field for longer chunks of time, especially in using your running game, really hurt this team. And it would have been interesting to see. Had Russell not fumbled deep down in the red zone, you get the score there. I thought a couple of bright spots, obviously, was the 2-minute drill to close out the first half. I remember, watching that live. I thought, okay, you're getting the ball first in the second half here. You got some momentum here. If you can come out in that second half and do anything, hold on to the football, keep your defense off the field. Maybe you have something there, but they severely missed, and it goes without saying. George Pickens in this one took obviously some untimely sacks in this. Couldn't get the ball enough to George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth in this, and it was just a combination of a lot of little things that ended up. And they weren't great on third downs overall. What were they? 4 of 10, I think, and just not enough, and all of it magnified by the couple of turnovers.
Yeah, like you said, lack of third down success couldn't allow the run game to have the volume and be able to maintain some level of control in this game, even though I thought they ran the ball with a more creative scheme than last week, more successful scheme.
More pulling. You saw the tackles kind of pull in this, and the guards, they did a little bit better job of getting linemen on the move.
Yeah, they ran that dart RPO a couple of times. It got blown up once when Dan Moore tried to pull. There was a blitzer that got him off track, and Warren, had a free guy to deal with. But overall, there was success there. I just thought Baltimore. I have a post up this morning on this in both games, Week 11 and Saturday, and I have the stats to attribute it and a cut up of every play action attempt Pittsburgh had, 22 in total. Pittsburgh's play action was just not successful on the whole. There were some good moments. The Calvin Austin 44-yarder came off play action, although that was not like an easy play action where something becomes open because somebody takes the cheese, but it was still successful. The touchdown to Pruitt. There was one good screen in that first matchup, but overall, if you look at completion percentage and yards per attempt and quarterback rating between play action against Baltimore versus play action in the other games, Russell Wilson has started, there was a big difference. They were much more successful with play action against other teams that aren't Baltimore than they were against the Ravens. Of course, the pick six came off of boot action. I think under center in particular, Pittsburgh really didn't get a lot of stuff opened up. And so if you're a team that can really take away the play action, the play pass threat that Pittsburgh brings, then you're really going to have success against them. I think Cleveland had more success in doing that. That's why those games were more of a struggle offensively. So I thought that's kind of where it started for Baltimore. You really minimized the play action, the threat that became, some of the easy completions in the boot game, some of the vertical attempts in the kind of more traditional drop back play action game. And that's kind of where Baltimore is able to build from there.
And I think the one thing that obviously sticks out too is, even on the completed passes, just not a lot of yards after the catch. They had 22 completions in this game. They had 60 yards of yak in this one, and they had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of their completions had 0 yards after the catch out. So nearly, or right at 50% of them, no yak after that. And so 60 divided by, what's 60 divided by 22 is only 2.72 yards after the catch average overall on 22 completions. So that's another area where, you in this game, you really could have used more yak.
Yeah, or at least more a continuation of bigger downfield plays. Either you're going to get, those big plays through run after or just the downfield nature and only two completions, 20 plus yards, the big one to Austin, and that one seam ball to Van Jefferson that set up the touchdown to Pruitt, which was a nice call. They kind of played off their toss motion from the Eagles game and they used play action and found Pruitt wide open. That was a good setup and kind of constraint play there from Arthur Smith after a rough game plan, play call wise against the Eagles. But yeah, that's a great point by you. There really wasn't a whole lot of, they really didn't scheme up the chances to get a lot of yak. It was a lot of sideline throws and a couple of vertical shots. So, I don't know if Pickens will be solving that because he can be a yak guy, but obviously he's a vertical guy first. But hopefully his presence just kind of opens up everything for everyone else.
Well, if you get some one-on-one opportunities against the Chiefs, can run a couple of quick slants, at least give him a chance out in space with the ball in his hand,
Yeah, we haven't seen that a ton this year from Pickens.
No.
We saw it a lot more last year, but it really has been, I'm just off the top of my head, I don't have a route tree and stats in front of me, but it has been seemingly less of a factor this year. Some third downs where they've hit it with no yak, but yeah, not as frequently as last year with the Browns game, the Bengals game, where you hit some big plays off of those slant routes.
Yeah, remember about this same time last year, the game against the Bengals, right? Mason Rudolph's first play, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was first throw. It was the last first drive touchdown Pittsburgh has had. That big slant, that Pickens for, what was that, 80 plus?
Yeah. But yeah, lack of yak, and you obviously didn't bust any huge runs in this, and it just felt like you're working uphill against that defense all the time. As you said, play action wasn't biting at all. You get into red zone and had the fumble down in there. I thought it was creative on as you kind of highlighted, kind of working off of what they had done with Connor Hayward in the backfield on the touchdown to Michael Pruitt and all.
Offensive line, I thought Frazier played well. I thought McCormick was pretty up and down. A couple of good reps early, but he was struggling in pass pro. I thought Broderick Jones had a pretty nice game in pass pro overall.
Sayamalo, I thought played pretty well overall.
Yeah, he's always pretty steady. I mean, he's a guy you just kind of assume is going to have a good game. I think there was a hump move that maybe Pierce tried to use on Sayamalo once, and he was able to hang on and kind of rebuff it. But yeah, I thought McCormick had his hands full. But yeah, I thought Broderick Jones had some good sets. There's been improvement with Broderick Jones.
McCormick got swam over one time too and ended up on all fours.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I think that was Pierce on that run play that Najee had to bounce out wide that Humphrey made the tackle at the line on. I thought stunt pickup early on was also poor. There was one missed stunt pickup between McCormick and Jones where they got too wide. The crasher was able to split the gap, and I think that resulted in maybe a sack or pressure.
Well, I think it was a
sack. It was a sack.
I know the one that you're thinking about because McCormick kind of got turned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Negative outcome. Right. Either way, for sure. So better as the game went on. Again, Pittsburgh early on, their pass protection has struggled. They seem to iron things out later and throughout the game. Can go back to some of the sack numbers this year. 16 of the 24 have come in the first half. So, hopefully without Chris Jones, life will be a little bit easier, but I don't want to call it easy against a Spagnuolo defense that can throw a lot at you.
You talk about 4 or 5 throwaways in this game as well too, and I respect not putting the ball in danger and all like that, but I mean those are 4 or 5 plays where you absolutely have zero shot at completing the pass, and those adds up. When's the last time that you've seen quarterback, Steelers quarterback have like 5 throwaways in a game?
Well, the issue is that's a great point because I've mentioned this occasionally, and it was all over Wilson's tape last year. Again, I think he's been a net positive for Pittsburgh. A good chance he returns next year. But how many of those throwaways came from him bailing on clean pockets? I mean, he did that. Go watch the throwaways, and there's probably 3 or 4 of those 5 where he's just bailing on a clean pocket. Now, that's maybe internal clock or perceived pressure, but those are things where he's floating away. And there's no one there. And once you leave the pocket, the tackles can't protect anymore. There's no angle. The deep defender can easily just get after you. There was one, he rolls to the left and they're lying to the right. And so there's just nobody over there once he floats to the left and he has to eat the ball and throw it away. So that's been an issue throughout the year for Russ. It's been an issue throughout his career, and it's kind of creating pressure and creating some of those throwaways.
All right.
Now, some of it maybe is occasionally where he's trying to get a scramble drill going, and you've seen that, sometimes you've been able to make something out of it. But yeah, I just think it's been part of his tape and just kind of who he is. That clock goes off, I got to leave the pocket even if I'm clean, and yeah, just something to watch going forward. All right, any other thoughts here offensively, Dave?
What'd you think when you went back and watched the fourth down deep throw?
Yeah, really my same thoughts. I mean, they got a good coverage. They got, too high there. They got that split safety look, but I just wish they would have had something more designed to get you 8 yards
There
on
was
fourth
really
and six.
nothing else though,
Yeah, no, I don't blame Russ for the decision. I mean, it's the only throw that he had, but in terms of just the concept that we have to really try to, run. And again, sometimes those vertical routes can just help open things up underneath. You want to stretch defenses vertically and horizontally, but I didn't really see anything that was trying to help scheme up underneath either. And so I just didn't think it was a great call and a gotta have it type of moment to go with that play.
You think Austin could have stemmed that a little bit out to his right a little bit before working back to the middle of the field to maybe help in that?
I'm not sure.
The ball anyway was more to the left side of the field anyway. So even that would have taken a hell of a Herculean effort on his part to catch that football,
especially against Kyle Hamilton,
right.
A guy that's twice his size. Yeah, I don't know what the coaching point is on where that route's supposed to be run. It looked okay to me. That ball, like you said, probably a little too far to the inside, but I don't think it's going to be complete, really, no matter where that ball was put.
All right, defense.
Yeah, the communication issues really stuck out to me. Big things, small things like that Peyton Wilson play I tweeted about, the big things like the Andrews touchdown. Yeah, just a lot of breakdowns there. I was trying to see some of because they talked a lot about the run game and guys being out of position. I was trying to get a good grasp for that, of trying to see maybe where guys were out of gaps. I didn't maybe get the best feel for how often or when that was happening. I should say there was one where I thought Adams got out of his gap and tried to do too much on a Henry run, but
I thought Wilson had one. I think maybe even Beanie didn't have a good fit on one. They blocked it up really. I mean, the Ravens really blocked that stuff up really, really well against them. And if you're not hitting Derrick Henry in the backfield and he's getting into the hole untouched, I mean, that's you're working downhill at that point there. But I thought there were some bad fits in there overall. Guys not getting off blocks quick enough, and Henry's passed him at that point there. But I mean, it was a combination of, and plus they paid a lot of attention to make sure they surfed that outside. So Lamar, they were really, really worried about Lamar and the zone read stuff and all like that, and that allowed for some running lanes on top of it, especially to the left hand or to the Ravens left hand side of the defense. I mean, of their offense.
Yeah, I thought Baltimore had a good game plan. They really helped lighten the box. They had these 3-by-1 formations, some of these bunch formations, walk the tight end out, displace the inside linebacker. Pittsburgh was trying to counter later in the game by keeping that inside backer in the box and having the safety roll down, which kind of limits coverage work, but it helps you have an extra guy in there to stop the run. But I thought Baltimore had a good job to kind of lighten those box and create some, even if it's an even box count, a 6-on-6 or 5-on-5, those are wins for the Ravens overall because you're going to trust Henry to make a play, and sometimes the backside guys unblocked, and so you kind of get numbers that way. I thought Baltimore pulled a ton in this game. They were gaining gaps, especially early, by pulling the tackle or pulling the guard, and against those slight boxes, you can just gain a number there and give Henry a runway. So I think schematically, Baltimore outclassed Pittsburgh, and then just from an execution standpoint, Pittsburgh poor tackling, gap integrity, those kinds of things you talk about that are pretty obvious on tape were also issues. You combine those two things, and that's how you get 162 yards by Derrick Henry.
You get into the middle portion of that game with the run success that they had, even on 1st and 10 type situations. I think even one of those plays, maybe Mark Robinson, can't remember if he was on the field or not, but they just get sucked in so bad. One of them was a cover 3 situation on one of those in-breaking routes by Flowers against cover 3. I think it was like a two-man route situation there, and they just sucked in so far up trying to defend the run that there's a lot of second second level room for Lamar Jackson just to easily pitch and catch that thing over the middle there. So the impact of the run and trying to make sure that you trying to key downhill on that because of the success that they had early in the game helped open up their passing game even more off play action.
One thing that stuck out to me, and this is going to sound a little, I don't know, not the point, and some people might think it's a little, who cares about this, but I just didn't think, and you can see it on tape, and even without the audio and some of the replays you get watching the TV tape, you can kind of sense it. I did not like the energy Pittsburgh came out with. Typically, they're high flying, they're intense. But that first game, they were super, super amped up. Like, go back and watch Mark Robinson on that first drive, that tackle he had at the line for his stuff. Like, nobody's celebrating, nobody's hyped up. Robinson just kind of claps his hands and he's happy with himself as he should be, and then just kind of walks back. Like, I just didn't think Pittsburgh had good energy where guys were really getting amped up and trying to feed off of making a couple of plays. I know Baltimore's hitting some stuff early, but yeah, just besides the Minka interception, where there was a lot of energy for that, for Minka personally, I'm sure, in just that moment. But just watch some of the couple of big plays Pittsburgh had early. I just didn't see kind of that, like energy and celebration and just the stuff I usually see with this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. The body language I thought was not where it usually was. They did not come out really amped up for this game the way they were in that first matchup.
Did you ever hear that segment Bill Belichick talked about that?
Exactly. Like, celebrate your teammates. Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking of. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt like. Yeah, I just didn't, and the short week can contribute to that, late in the season, whatever the case is. But regardless, Baltimore set the tone not only in execution, but I think in their body language, their energy, they were really feeding off of that. And, again, maybe Pittsburgh being on the road, but either way, I hate to boil it down to vibes because it is so not X's and O's that we always like to harp on. But I think that was a component as well.
They looked tired.
They did. Yeah. As you said, they looked tired, boss. I mean, they just felt like a unit that came out without much energy, and that only dissipated as the Ravens were having success, from basically carry one for Henry.
All right. And then obviously not enough, you had the one takeaway by Minka, and, you mix in special teams in this, and, the ball was on the ground a couple of times and they didn't come up with it. I thought Alex Highsmith played a pretty good game overall. Just not a lot of, as I wrote in the 5 keys ahead of that, it's going to take some havoc type plays in there. And, you had some tackle for losses and all like that, but, the ball was on the ground 3 or 4 times in that game and you didn't come away with it, so, and you definitely had to, win the turnover battle and shorten the fields and get that offense off the field, give you defense a rest. And they didn't get enough of that. Goes without saying.
Yeah. Well said there. All right, David, any other final thoughts here with the All-22? Yeah, I thought anything positive. I thought Casey had good tackles. I thought the corners were showing willingness and run support. Obviously you don't want the tackles or the DBs to make as many tackles as they did. I did think Trice gave up. He had poor positioning on one, that big run by Henry, his biggest of the game, that 44-yarder. I mean, there were probably multiple issues on that play, but I thought Trice, he's got to force that one to the alley, to the inside. He got sealed off, gave Henry the sideline. That really opened up that big run.
All right.
Actually, about positives, and I ended up with the negatives. So I didn't do a good job myself there. But yeah, obviously a few positives in this game. I thought Benton had good plays, especially early. It's still kind of classic Benton with that club over works so well that first time, and then it has diminishing returns when he used it against Linderbaum later in the game. But I thought Benton was disruptive, and that first drive was making plays. Highsmith had a good game. Watt was pretty quiet. I didn't think, did Watt have a sack against the Ravens this year? Did he have one in the first matchup?
Sure.
I don't think he did, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to think back, and numbers start running together. He did have a sack. He did have a sack in week 11. Week 11 of this game.
I couldn't help but think too. A couple of times looked like they had Henry at the line of scrimmage. Dean Lowry missed a tackle, one that was more towards getting closer into the. I think the run actually ended in the red zone. A run to the right by Henry there. Just falling off of tackles, especially at the first level, and guys not making good tackles, sound tackles at the second level. All that added up.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Dave, we can probably stop beating up on this game too much. There isn't a whole lot more to be said. Let's preview the Steelers Chiefs game. No beat writer this week, just too crazy around the holidays and the short schedule and everything. Just really wasn't even worth trying to pester somebody to come on here for a couple of minutes. But Kansas City 14-1, NFL's best record. They're trying to lock up the 1 seed, which they will if it's a win and they lock up the 1 seed, right? Isn't that the
Right.
Chiefs' path to do that? So still a fair amount to play for in this one to hold off Buffalo. Pittsburgh 10-5, trying to break a 3-game losing streak, and they've had a lot of 3-game losing streaks in recent years, Dave. So I thought Pittsburgh would finally have a season without one, and now they're in danger of that occurring. Game 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on Christmas Day on Netflix. It will be shown locally in the Kansas City and Pittsburgh markets. So if you are in Pittsburgh, it should be on KDKA. So we don't have to have Netflix for that. If you're out of market, though, you will need to borrow your friend's Netflix account and password to watch this game. So, Dave, looking at the Chiefs again, not the same high flying offense of Chiefs as they often had been. It really started last year where that offense wasn't quite as video game like as it used to be. But yet they're 14-1. How are they doing it? How are they 14-1 despite Mahomes not throwing for 50 touchdowns?
Well, they are what they are because they're playing good complementary football, offense and defense. The offense is not scoring. In fact, they barely rank higher than the Steelers in points per game. They are at 23.7. The Steelers are at 23.5. So they're not scoring a lot of points. Time of possession, I think they're about close to what the Steelers are as well. The key thing that we've talked about with the Chiefs for several weeks now is what they do on third down. They lead the league in third down percentage with nearly 51%. They're good on fourth down. Red zone, not so great, I don't think, overall. What were they on red zone? 51.67, so 26th in the league when it comes there. Where this team, when you look at them offensively, they work out. It feels like they try to work out more horizontally. First and foremost, you see a lot of bubble screens, motions, quick passes out to the side. They try to work the numbers out on the side. If they stretch you out, they'll try some of those inside runs, stuff. And then while they try to lull you to sleep with the speed and all on the outside, that's when they'll try a quick pop, quick bang, slant or something, or try to work Travis Kelce or one of the other tight ends vertically on you, maybe occasionally down the side. But Patrick Mahomes is just really not throwing the football down the field vertically a lot. And where they are making their hay is on first and second down, and they are pleased as punch to 5 and 6 yard you to death, get themselves in third and manageable situations. You come out, try to play man against them in third and 3, third and 4, and they'll either man concept you, rub you off, or run a quick screen, leak the running back out to you there. And just their high level of conversions on third down is what's able to keep this offense on the field and maintain possession. And they're more apt to say, okay, we kept the ball, get in field goal range, get to sure 3 points, because we know our defense is going to go out there and play complementary football. They're not boat racing a lot of people, kind of yardage and yard per play or that kind of situation. They just literally, paper cut you to death, specifically out on the edges there. So you got to be very, very mindful of that speed on the outside, those quick screens, those quick jet handoffs. You got to be on your keys because of the motion and all, and the sleight of hand, if you will. And then, there's this guy named Patrick Mahomes that, if you play a lot of man against him and the C's open up, or you allow him to extend the play, he'll do it with his feet, or he'll just wait for somebody to uncover at the second level, i.e. Travis Kelce, and he gets you that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, because this schedule for me is so crazy, I haven't written up my formal report. I've watched the Chiefs, I've taken all my notes. I just have to put it into a coherent couple of paragraphs. And so I haven't been able to kind of have a formal thought as I usually try to present for these discussions. But I think you're right about that overall. What's impressed me is just the way that they can win close games. To answer my own question of how are they 14-1 despite the offense not being as gaudy as years past. They're 11-0 this year, Dave, in one score games. I talked about that with Pittsburgh a ton, how their secret sauce, quote unquote, is that they can win those tight games at an abnormally high rate and do that consistently. Since Andy Reid became the Chiefs head coach in 2013, the top two teams winning one score games are Pittsburgh's number one, Kansas City's number two. And this year, KC may set the record for most one score wins in the season. They tie the record right now with Minnesota with 11 in a season. Again, 11-0 this year in one score games. And so they're able to make those plays late in the game. That's the Mahomes factor, the clutch factor, the chemistry and continuity that he has with Kelsey's pretty off the charts. And yeah, you're right. It's not necessarily always a vertical type of offense, but it's very good horizontally. It really messes with your eyes. There's a ton of misdirection, a ton of window dressing. You're always trying to play one step behind. They've really gotten Xavier Worthy, their top rookie. Their speeds are involved a lot recently in terms of RPO game, swing game, jet run game. They had a wineback run, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Just using him on motion to kind of, draw eyes because the threat of his speed is so great. And so they really just kind of utilized and played to their strengths pretty well. And as you said, it isn't super impressive in terms of compared to seasons past, but it's still, to me, pretty effective.
They only have 44 explosive plays on offense of 20 yards or longer. To put that in context, Baltimore leads the NFL with 73. The Steelers have 61. Does it feel like the Steelers?
I know, it doesn't feel like that.
61, but I mean, they're damn near Steelers almost 20 more explosive plays than they are. So once again, they're not a team that especially in the passing game that presses you vertically. They really try to work the edges. They'll try to dink and dunk you, and they'll try to set you up for something a little bit more vertically. But they're just not an explosive offense. They're more ball control, convert. You got to get off the field on third downs against them. I mean, if they're converting 50% or higher clip, it's that much. And then look, this defense on a short week, the less plays, the better for the Steelers defense here. So, it obviously starts on first and second down because you don't want them to get in those third and threes, third and four manageable type situations. I think you've got to dare Mahomes to push the football down the field, especially in like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations, if you can even get them in those situations there. But they're going to try to do a lot of work out on the edges against the Steelers defense. I would imagine even more so now on short weeks with how tired they are and banged up. They'll probably want to see those Steeler corners come up and tackle. Their run game, I've always been impressed with Pacheco. He runs so violently. I mean, like he's mad at the ground. But their running game almost just is more of a compliment off of trying to lull you to sleep and getting guys out of the box with all the eye candy and the motion that they do. Now all their backs can obviously break them and they get some good blocking up front, but it's not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is just more quicker perimeter type stuff, at least in the last couple of weeks. They got Hollywood Brown back and, Worthy and, those kind of things there. And, Travis Kelce against zone, he's got just such a knack of finding the dead area, especially when Mahomes extends the play, and those two are able to connect.
Yeah, really, they've a little Pittsburgh-like, and they're not spreading the field out with a bunch of receivers all the time. They're going heavy. They're going 13 personnel. Noah Gray is a tight end that no one really talks about because Kelce gets all the fanfare, but I mean, he has come on strong. He has 5 touchdowns this year. That might be more than Travis Kelce has this year. So, I mean, he's also a real asset to them. They can get the ball to anybody. DeAndre Hopkins is making tough catches. I've always been a big fan of D-Hop and his ability to contest. Does Pittsburgh, do they have the guys that can run? The team speed will be tested. Xavier Worthy, his track speed against, Dante Jackson, probably a matchup you want to take and hope that Jackson, who's fast himself, can run. Juju's doing some of the dirty work he's done in Pittsburgh. So there's a variety of people there. Just to go back to it, why they're so successful on third down. They're averaging this year, Dave, needing just 6.2 yards to go on third down, which sounds like a lot, but it's the best number in the NFL. And so that's why they're converting at the high clip they are, because they're in so many third and manageable situations where the playbook opens up. The key here for Pittsburgh, talk about how they can win, is pass rush. The Chiefs tackles have been a mess this year. They've had, 4 or 5 probably left tackles this season. Like you said, they kicked Tooney out. They put in a pretty depth player at left guard. And so Cam Hayward, I think, has to have that kind of matchup where he collapses the pocket and really, creates that interior pressure for Patrick Mahomes. And on the edges, you need guys like Highsmith and Herbig to win that matchup on that Mahomes blind side.
Yeah, and look, I mean, Mahomes has taken a few sacks. This could be another game, though, that you end up with 3 or 4 sacks on Patrick Mahomes and it not be enough. Overall, you got to try to get the football out. He's pretty good at not, he will try to make some of those Mahomes plays where he puts the ball in danger. So if he puts one close to you, you better get it. But you absolutely got to try to get the ball out of him. And more than anything, once again, I think the key to this is going to come down to third downs. Can they get off the field enough times on third downs? Can they get in enough situations where Patrick Mahomes is trying to stretch the football down the field? Because once again, you go back and look at the last 4 games, I think he's completed just 2 passes of more than 20 yards down the field. Overall, he will take his shots, and he has missed a couple that I think one to the tight end, to the backup tight end against the Texans down the middle of the field, kind of high, 35, 40 yards out, something like that. But if you don't get off the field on third down against Patrick Mahomes, it's going to make for a long day. And that's how they've been winning. They've had such a high clip of third down conversions. And even though haven't been great down in the red zone, they'll gladly take the 3 points and roll their defense out there, try to keep the score down, and just beat you in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's why I think those sacks are important, to try to get them in those and long situations so they aren't in 3rd and 4, to get them out of those manageable type moments. I should also mention they got back for the Houston game Hollywood Brown. I was trying to think of the other speedy receiver, and he had that shoulder injury in the summer, and he came back. And so it's Worthy and Brown, their speed. I know Brown's probably still getting his legs under him. He had 5 catches, 8 targets in his first game back, so he was getting involved. How many snaps did he play? Was he on a kind of full snap count? Did they limit him at all? Only played 20 snaps, and so he got 8 targets off of that. And so those are probably pass down situations where they want to try to get him active. Short week, probably a similar snap count, but all it takes is one play for a guy like him, a guy like Worthy, to go for 60 yards, whether that's yak or whether that's air yards, to make that big time play. So Pittsburgh secondary, which probably won't have Porter in this one, will have to really step up.
Just in the limited amount of film study on him, the way they try to bubble out and quick screens and look, they'll motion the running back out at snap horizontally, and then quick screen to him with Kelce and a wide receiver, or even another wide receiver on one side out, to try to get numbers and take advantage of the speed. That way, I can imagine that they're coaching this up as saying, man, you got to key on all this quick stuff out to the sides for the defensive backs and all. And what I worry about here is double moves in those situations where it looks like you're going to get a quick screen, and either the false block. We've seen the Eagles do this in the past, where it looks like it's going to be a quick screen, and you tight end kind of leak out, or a wide receiver leak out and look like they're going to block, but then go up the field. So I would be kind of worried about this, the Steelers corners trying to key too heavily coming downhill on these perimeter plays, because I think you're going to see a lot of perimeter stuff by them, because that feels like it's their MO.
Yeah, I just worry about, to kind of play off of that, assuming Porter doesn't play and we're seeing a lot of Pierre and Trice, whoever gets thrown out there, and then Beanie Bishop too. The inexperience, does a guy make a mental mistake? I think we talked about Trice kind of just very narrowly trying to do his job and not able to see some of the big picture, which I get. I'm not trying to have him try to do too much and be their hero, but still against Mahomes could be a problem. Pierre, to me, has always been a guy very physically talented, above the neck, a lot of mistakes. Is he going to get fooled by something, take the cheese and, get beat on a double move or extended play or some kind of crazy route concept? Same with a Beanie Bishop, a young guy there. I think Mahomes will try to take advantage of that. And I know the red zone offense has not been very good this year, but man, Dave, they get inside the 20, they do a lot of funky stuff. You get a lot of creativity down there in terms of formationally and just the play calls themselves. And so with the way Pittsburgh's red zone defense has struggled since the buys we laid out in Sunday's show, 70%, post buy, that's a bad combination given that the Chiefs can really give you some funky looks that are tough to prepare for on a long week, let alone on a short week where you really have no practice time to rep these things out.
It's not all that exciting of an offense to watch on tape, but it's just highly effective,
Yeah, the points aren't there, but when they need plays, they get plays. And
right.
That's all that really football comes down to. Do you make the plays in the big moments? The Chiefs do. That's why they're 14-1.
Right.
All right, Dave, flipping over to that Chiefs defense. And again, if they do not have Chris Jones in this game, that would be a massive loss for them and a big plus for Pittsburgh. But still, the Steelers have to establish the run, get things going. The Chiefs have been a really good defense. They play really good team run defense. They tackle well, they flow well, they chase backside well. They constrict in the zone game well. They don't really allow any big gaps opened up. So what are your thoughts here on KC's D?
Well, they when you talk about explosive plays on the other side, I think they've given up just 50 all year. There, they do good job with their 4-man rush type situations. They're very disruptive with their with the stunts and the availability to kind of collapse the pocket and that way they're good against the run overall as well. They'll blitz. They're not afraid to, Steve Spagnuolo, he's got probably two MOs. He's not afraid to blitz. He's not afraid to play cover zero in really any part of the field and more specifically down in the red zone. So you got to be prepared for a free runner or two, them trying to send a house against you, especially if you get third and long type situations. They'll play a lot of, it seems like they like to play a lot of cover one man, either that or quarters. And I think it's a plus if you have George Pickens in this game and they do come out trying to play a lot of man type situations. You've got to win those one-on-one matchups anytime that you can go against a cover one single high. And I think because they probably know that the Steelers are going to try to run the football more in this one, you will see a lot of single high type situations where they want Bolton and the safety and they want those guys down there, especially if they don't have Chris Jones. They're probably going to want to try to overcompensate for that. So I think if they want to play man, especially on early downs, you got to first and second down, you got to try to throw against it.
Yeah, I hear that. Assuming Pickens plays, the matchup between him and Trent McDuffie is going to be a really good one. McDuffie doesn't have the big numbers, but he's a really good cover corner and help replace L'Jarius Sneed, who Casey traded this offseason. So that's a big time matchup there. I didn't see it as much in the Houston game, but when I watched the Cleveland game from 2 weeks ago, the way that they bracketed Jerry Jeudy in some of those third down situations, there was a lot of combination coverages that the Chiefs run. It's a pretty inventive scheme. They're not going to just go out there and run one thing or just have, the same look. I think they're going to probably make an effort to take away Pickens in those third and obvious pass situations with some bracket coverage. And so that's going to still require other guys to step up, but that's going to create those one-on-one opportunities for Austin or, maybe Freiermuth or whoever to step up and make plays. So I think Pickens can obviously still make an impact with the ball in his hands in this game, but I do think in those big weighty moments, the Chiefs' efforts will be to take him away and make somebody else step up and win.
Yeah, but it still feels like Pickens is going to have a couple of big catches down the field in this game. And third down, they haven't been a great third down defense. I think they're ranked 20th at 40.54%. In the red zone, they're a little bit better at 51.11%. What are they directionally in? I mean, they can be, if you run away from Chris Jones, but I mean, you got Bolton is playing some good football for him this year. Where's my play direction stats here?
Yeah, the run defense has been good overall. I don't know if there's going to be any big weakness, but with Jones out, hopefully the just more interior runs can open up.
Let's see here. Up the middle is where they have actually been the weakest defensively against the run. 4.84 yards per carry, 28th overall. But directionally, other than that, they've been sound. So they're going to probably, the key thing to watch, obviously, is Chris Jones. If Chris Jones is not in this game, you got to try to run at that.
Yeah, and even more so given the number you talked about with 4.8 yards per carry up the middle. So yeah, that's the key. And then I think the big thing is also to talk about the post snap rotation. Go watch the interception they had off of Stroud, and that's on the snap and the safeties trade places, and you just get a lot of wrinkles like that. The pre snap picture and the post snap picture are often going to be two different things, and so a veteran like Russ going to have to decipher that. The good news is he's played against the Chiefs last couple of years out there in Denver in the AFC West, and so that's not going to be unfamiliar to him as a veteran, but also somebody that knows the Chiefs probably better than anybody else on Pittsburgh right now, given that it's a short week, it's a little time to prepare. And so having a guy like Russ with that knowledge in his back pocket is actually pretty helpful given the circumstances.
Yeah, you would think he'd be able to pick up on some of these blitzes and all because Spags will go after him.
Yeah, they're a good rush team. They run some stunts. So if you on third down, I noticed if the D tackles are typically 3 tech and 3 tech, if there's like a 3 tech and a 2 eye, that's usually a sign the stunt's going to happen. The D tackle's trying to kind of cheat in a little bit to make that stunt a little bit easier to run. But yeah, they're gonna, Justin Reed's going to be a dime backer for them. He's an every down guy, but in terms of like he'll shift down close line of scrimmage on third down. He'll rush sometimes, and other DBs get involved as well, and so they can bring blitzes from a bunch of different people in this one, and may do so even more without Chris Jones, their top pass rusher, assuming he's unavailable for this game. So yeah, it's a good scheme. It's good talent overall. Not a ton of weaknesses, but yeah, can Pickens make those plays on early downs? Can the run game get going up the middle? Can Wilson decipher some coverages? Can you just have more success on first down? Pittsburgh's still the number 32 team on first down in the NFL this season, averaging, I think it's like 4.6 yards per play. And so got to get better than that.
They only have 34 sacks as a team, which is even fewer than the Steelers do as a team.
Yeah, it's surprising considering how many leads they played with. They don't really have, besides Jones, they don't have that super 1A pass rusher on the edge. Karlaftis has 7 this year. Yeah, I don't know what some of their pressure rates are and with how much they blitz. You think they'd have a little bit more, but maybe teams know the ball is going to get out hot against these guys because you're not going to have a lot of time to sit back and cover. They do play a lot of man coverage on third down, and so can you have some man beaters on third down against those pressure packages? That'll be, I think, key for Arthur Smith to come up with.
All right.
And then they got good special teams, too. They got Butker back at kicker. He's having a really fine season. And Ariza at punter is he's got a crazy leg. He was like one of my favorite players to watch in college.
God.
Yeah, the punt god. I mean, he would just boom the heck out of the football. So the numbers may not be like as intense this year, but he's had some really good punts, and they can be a threat on special teams as well. That's why they're 14-1. You can't be 14-1 with bad special teams.
They're only +4 in the takeaway giveaway. Steelers come into this one leading the second in the NFL in net differential in 17. So it goes without saying, especially with a guy like Patrick Mahomes. We got to see some takeaways. I don't know how they're going to get them. Try to rip the football, I guess, out. How many fumbles, giveaways do the Chiefs have only fumbled 3 times in the giveaway department, and Patrick Mahomes is only he's thrown 11 interceptions in total here. So they're net, they don't take the ball away a lot, but they don't give the ball away a lot either.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Also, one other just quick wrinkle I don't know what their plan's going to be for this week, but remember, it got talked about some of these new kickoff rules. If the Chiefs score, assuming they put up a couple of points in this one, don't be shocked if their safety is kicking off. Justin Reed does some kickoffs for them. He's got 9 on the season. Is again trying to get that actual 11th defender out there. He's kicked, I think, some field goals in the past. I think maybe some injuries last year. Butker did kickoffs last week against the Texans. 2 weeks ago, Reed handled the kickoffs, and so I don't know if that's what the plan is there. Or was kind of easing Butker back into things off that knee injury or what. But just don't be shocked to see number 20 doing kickoffs for the Chiefs.
All right.
All right, Dave, anything else? Any other thoughts before we make our picks for this one? We'll say most of our picks. We'll come back and do a Thursday show recapping the game. Obviously, we'll make the weekend picks then. Should we make our picks, I guess? Should we do it for the other Christmas game and the Thursday game, all that kind of stuff? Okay, take it away.
Yeah. Let's see here. We will start. Let me pull up real quick. We will start with the Ravens and the Texans. The Ravens on the road against Houston. Oh, you've got to tell people about the swap of wide receivers.
Oh, that was in my notes.
Baltimore and Houston. Why don't you get that out of the way first?
Deontay Johnson has a new home, his fourth time's a charm, as they say, right? The Houston Texans claimed him, and kudos to you, Dave. You called this one. You wanted on Sunday's show why no one was talking about Houston as a destination after losing Tank Dell for the season, and you were right. Deontay to Houston, and the swap was Steven Sims, a former Steelers on the move. Sims was waived by the Texans and then claimed by the Ravens, and so Johnson going from Baltimore to Houston, Sims going from Houston to Baltimore, and they play each other on Christmas Day. So what a storyline that is. Although I can't imagine Deontay's going to dress for this one, just getting to the team.
I mean, you just getting there today, taking a physical, and I mean, how are you going to get integrated into anything within that? So, I wasn't shocked that Houston claimed him. All right, Ravens on the road laying 5.5 against the Texans.
Also, should note, Pittsburgh did not submit a waiver claim. As you said, that information would come out. Field Yates did tweet that the Chargers submitted a waiver claim. I thought the Chargers were higher in the waiver order, but I guess not. And the Texans only teams to submit waiver claims on Deontay. What do you think that means with Harbaugh, with Jim Harbaugh submitting a waiver claim? Did he call up John and be like, hey, what's going on here? He had to have talked to him about it, you think, right?
Yeah, you would think. Yeah.
And he was comfortable enough to submit a claim, so who the heck knows? And listen, Pittsburgh could see Deontay Johnson again because the Texans in the playoffs, a wild card matchup is not the craziest thought in the world. So anyway, what's the line on this one? 5.5?
5.5. Ravens on the road against the Texans.
Give me Baltimore.
Yeah, losing Tank Dell, and the Ravens really seem to be playing good ball right now. I'm going to take the Ravens lay 5.5. Should we do the Thursday game and get that knocked out, or should we save that for the Thursday show?
Yeah, let's just do the Thursday game right now.
All right, Seahawks, not that it's all that entertaining. Seahawks on the road against the Bears. Seahawks laying 3.5 in this one.
Take Seattle.
I'll take Seattle as well, too, late at 3.5. That brings us back. This line's actually grown a little bit. I think it started off at 2.5 between the Steelers and the Chiefs. It's now Chiefs on the road laying 3 with an over-under of 43.5 in this one. Go ahead. What you got? Any surprise for me?
Probably, maybe. I had this thought for a while. I just think the Chiefs offense with Mahomes not being quite as Mahomes like with Pittsburgh's pass rush, which granted has not been their typical 50 sack self-defensively either. I don't know. I just don't have again, like Baltimore, which I was wrong about, don't have a great reason for this, but I just think Pittsburgh backs against the wall at home. They've yet to show they can solve Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes is not he's still a great quarterback, but not putting up the great numbers he's used to. Just off the top here, I'm going Pittsburgh 23, Kansas City 21.
I'm going close to you, and I actually think this, and we talked most of the season, this is a winnable game. I think morale boost of getting these guys back. I think maybe the Steelers can hit them for a couple of big plays with George Pickens. He's going to be chomping at the bit to get on the field, man. I mean, for missing these couple of games the way he has, they're once again the Chiefs are just a Cadillac version of the rock throwers, right? You just they small ball you. As long as the Steelers don't give up any of these like 40 or 50-yard explosive play touchdowns in this one, don't get caught with their pants down. It feels like they're going to be able to I envision the Chiefs coming out, first couple drives and driving the football down, but not, but only getting field goals. We've seen the Steelers do this against the Chiefs several times with Ben Roethlisberger. Move the football down, and you get to halftime and say, man, it's so lopsided, but the Steelers only have 6 points, I kind of vision this as well, too. I'm not overly confident in this, but I've talked several times that the Chiefs the Steelers match up actually pretty good against this 2024 Chiefs team. I'm going to take this 23-20 Steelers with a late field goal by Chris Boswell to win it. I think if they can keep this close and get into their traditional rock fighting type game, and the Chiefs have lived off of keeping these things close and winning them themselves. So this is I think this is a winnable game. I think the Steelers might shock them. They need to. 23-20 Steelers.
Well said. If there's a year to beat the Chiefs, it's this year. And if Pittsburgh can't do it, then that's on them. So, yeah, I think getting Pickens back, getting healthier overall, no Chris Jones. I'm assuming that, and I'm kind of saying like it's a fact, but I'm just going to assume with him not practicing, the short week, the Chiefs not having a ton to play for in this one, probably a good time to give him the rest and then allow him to have really 11 days off and maybe even more than that for the postseason run. So, yeah, I'm going to shut up here. That's my score prediction. I feel better now that you're predicting the Steelers to win as well, because I'm the kiss of death. And so we will see what happens.
I'd like to see at halftime us talking about the Chiefs being like 25 or 28% on third down, because you get into the second half, if the Chiefs have run a lot of plays, the attrition component, blah, blah, blah. But they will be at home. And if they could just get this thing to the fourth quarter, just get it to the fourth quarter.
Or just get some situational stops. The Chiefs are going to move the ball. Mahomes is going to do his thing, win in the red zone. Pittsburgh's got to show they can win there. And if you can make it like even a 10-7 KC lead at half, like, okay, I'll take that. Just keep this thing close, keep the score down, try to win it late in a kind of classic Steelers fashion.
I mean, you look at the wins, that they had. And we talked about the points per game and all like that. I mean, here's the thing. They like Mike Tomlin said, they find ways to win. But I mean, in their last 4 games, the Raiders 19-17, Chargers 19-17, Browns 21-7. They scored a few more points against the Texans this past week, 27-19. But you go through this thing, it's not like they're blowing people out,
Yeah, no, right. They're not that same juggernaut that they have been, but they do win. And we are both predicting close games, and the Chiefs have won nothing but close games. I mentioned earlier, 11-0 in one-score games this year. Pittsburgh's done well. They're 6-3. Historically, they're always good winning close games under Mike Tomlin, but the Chiefs have not lost under those circumstances. So we are kind of going against the grain on that, but it is also hard to predict Pittsburgh winning this game by 2 scores.
Right. All right.
All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
Let's see what we have in the email machine here. Todd Jensler, Merry Christmas. Really appreciate you guys. 2 questions. Is Arthur Smith the answer, and will they bring him back next year, which I'm sure they will, because they always do? Are there better options if the Steelers lose out? Will they bring Russell Wilson back, and to what cost? Thank you so much, Merry. Once again, we're talking about postseason stuff and already, things like that, where we should be focusing on this team's in the playoffs and can they get healthy and can they win the first playoff game and all like that. I mean, a lot to be determined still. My thought all along is Arthur Smith's going to be back next year, and as far as what cost, we've recently been asked and talked about that. I mean, I think they're going to try their best to bring Russell Wilson back, and what's the number going to be? Is it going to be $25 million, which seems like an extreme bargain? Is it going to be even a bargain at $30 million? Is it going to be $40 million? I'll just put it to you this way: with 2 games left in the season, I think Arthur Smith will be back, and I think they'll find a way to bring Russell Wilson back.
I agree. And the only way that Arthur Smith is not on the Steelers sideline in 2025 is if he gets a head coaching job somewhere. Pittsburgh's not going to fire him. They just hired him to a 3-year contract. They kept Matt Canada around for 2.5 seasons. They're going to dump Arthur Smith, who had, had a mixed bag of stuff, but was certainly still been better. And the team has had more success under him than they have, in 6 seasons or so. What are your thoughts on Teryl Austin? A lot of dislike for Teryl Austin on the internet's last couple of days. Do you want to kick him out the door? What's your feeling?
Uh, this defense not has underperformed, but it has had injuries. But we see other teams overcome that kind of stuff and all. I mean, even when they bring in new defensive coordinators, how much different, are the coaching points not there? Is that where Teryl Austin lacks, is just coaching? Schematically, they've obviously been in a lot of games.
Yeah, and obviously Mike Tomlin has a heavy hand in this defense, and so it is hard to parse that. I still have trouble figuring out who calls the plays defensively on the sideline. I know the reporting is Tomlin, but like I never see him holding a play sheet, and Austin's is the side of a note card.
Right.
So I still struggle to kind of figure out exactly how the game day operation works defensively in terms of play calling.
Austin's looks like a 6x6,
Right.
One-sided card.
But do you ever see Tomlin holding a play sheet? I mean, is he calling plays from memory? I can't imagine as good as he is maybe recalling stuff to actually. Even Sean McVay uses a play sheet.
I mean, how many times have we had this conversation over the years?
I know.
I don't know where I stand on this.
I don't have the hate for Austin that other people do. I understand the struggles his defense have had. I think it's a lot of execution type stuff. I think schematically, I think even the Eagles game, Pittsburgh had a good plan. They just didn't execute, with some of the missed tackles and type things. The miscommunication is a problem for sure. The missed tackles are a problem. They tackled really well before these last couple of games, and so it's not like they've been a bad tackling team throughout the season consistently. There are more blips than they have been long-standing trends. I think Austin's done a great job with turnover culture and bringing that to Pittsburgh. I'm not trying to put him up for assistant coach of the year or anything,
right.
But I really don't have any desire. If people can lay out schematic reasons for why the defense has struggled, if you can talk about what players are not being developed, not being elevated, then I'm all ears. But I've not really heard any particular criticism other than just kind of, oh, they're not playing too well.
I mean, where are they at in even explosive plays this year? I mean, I guess it is kind of high, 54 in total that they've allowed of 20 yards or longer. Jacksonville leads the league with 77.
I mean, they're number 6 scoring defense right now. They were number 6 last year when they shouldn't have been. They overachieved last year. I think they actually did a great job. I think Austin really managed all the injuries in the secondary well. It just doesn't speak to me to go fire some guys.
Yeah. Our next question kind of lays around the defense as well too, from Jeff Berg. If you're wondering, I'm wondering what you're seeing on the All-22 in regards to the passing defense. To layman, it seems like there's too many instances of opposing receivers getting wide open and catching the ball running. Is it communication that's the main problem? Is it not as bad as I'm perceiving? Our receivers seem to be blanketed, requiring wonderful catches, pass through tight windows as we spin out of bounds. Can we be schemed open like our foes? So this is kind of a look. I mean, a recency bias alone off these last 2 games, the communication problems, and especially red zone, giving up those touchdowns that they gave. It's in, Alex has pointed out, a couple times in this game, other miscommunication issues. They just got to do a better job of substituting these guys in, getting, Patrick Queen talked about it and Austin talked about it. Just got to make sure that everybody knows what page that they're on overall. Opposing receivers getting wide open and catching the ball running.
I think anytime guys get wide open, it's often miscommunication. Typically, defenses are sound enough to not just to forget about a zone or a coverage or a man. And so I don't know if that's been happening to like actual wide receivers a ton recently, It's happened more to the backs and underneath stuff, the tight ends. It's not like there's been a busted coverage where some receivers like 50 yards downfield wide open. But yeah, I mean, it obviously guys have gotten open. There have been a lot of busts, and so that's the point, and that really generally speaks to miscommunication. And you can see that on DeAndrew's touchdown, for example, where Mink is trying to communicate and Sutton doesn't receive the message and they end up taking the same guy and Andrews is wide open. So when you have guys that are wide open, unless somebody just falls, it's usually miscommunication.
And then you couple that in with the poor tackling the last two games and, gap responsibilities not being handled perfectly the last two games. I mean, you get the recency bias of, man, this defense is bad,
Yeah, again, I want to get Elliott back. I want to get these guys healthy. I want to kind of get them off the mat here. I'm not going to throw this team out just yet, but there is certainly a real chance they lose 3 in a row, which is
sure,
going to be costly here down the stretch, and really jeopardize your AFC North chances.
You got a legitimate. I mean, you still, we'll see what happens with this Bengals Broncos game. That's going to be a huge one this weekend. But the Bengals have a good chance of still being alive in this thing, and you got to go against Burrow and that offense one more time.
Yeah, that's not a gimme by any means, assuming they have something to play for. The best thing, the Bengals can the Bengals be eliminated in any scenario by the end of this week? Is there any scenario in which they have nothing to play for in Week 18 if they lose to Denver?
Oh, I thought I saw something where if I don't know for sure,
because I'm just that might become pretty important. I want to try to maybe pull that up here before we hop off today. Okay, is there any way the Bengals, if they win, obviously
pull up that guy had something. Joe thought he had something about eliminations.
Did he have elimination
yesterday? Yeah. Let's see.
I know he said clinching scenarios. The Broncos can clinch a playoff
Okay,
spot.
Cincinnati is eliminated with a loss or a tie in Week 17.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because if you have 9 losses, then there's no way you're going to make the playoffs. Okay, so they lose, then so we're all big Broncos fans.
They have to win. A loss or a tie gets them eliminated, the Bengals against the Broncos. Okay.
Yeah, they have to win out, and the Broncos have to lose out for Cincy to get in. I think it's kind of how that works.
Well, if Denver wins or ties, they are in.
Right. I'm saying for the Bengals to make the playoffs, they have to win out. The Broncos have to basically, I think, lose out to get it. It doesn't matter. Okay, point is, yeah, Bengals, if they lose, they're eliminated, and so that's going to be important for Week 18 because if they are eliminated, then it's hard to believe Chase will play, Higgins will play, maybe Burrow plays, but they may sit some guys.
All right. Clayton writes in. Oh, no, we already got that. The exhaustion, hard practice. All right. I think we got all the emails out of the way there.
All right, Dave. We will come back and hopefully have some good Christmas news for all you guys on Thursday.
We'll break it down on Thursday and give the rest of our picks and start looking ahead toward the weekend and all like that. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button. Follow the directions that way. We will have the scouting reports up first about midnight, right?
Yeah, just getting some news coming in. Chiefs making some declarations. Chris Jones and Jawan Taylor, that's a D tackle, opposite tackle, are questionable for tomorrow's game against the Steelers. Chamari Connor and DJ Humphries are out. And so one of their left tackles, Humphries, who's been out a couple weeks, will remain out. Connor, one of their leading tacklers, has been in concussion protocol. He will not play. Jones, though, officially questionable. I was hoping for maybe an out on him, but that may be a game time decision.
Craig Rolstad will be the referee for the game.
Fun.
That's just come out as well, too. Okay. Everybody have Merry Christmas, right?
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll talk to you guys Thursday.
All right. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.